Hello, I'm Lee Markopoulos. I'm the director of Rena Bransten Gallery here in downtown San Francisco. And we're here in the gallery today in two of our exhibitions, our June exhibitions. We're showing a local artist, Jessica Snow, and a Portuguese artist, Joana Vasconcelos. And I'll go on to talk about the exhibitions, but I'd like to tell you a bit about the gallery's history. We have been established since 1974, so we're one of the oldest and most established galleries in San Francisco. We started out as a ceramics gallery, showing contemporary ceramics, and we've gradually expanded our program over the years. We still have a sculptural element, we still show ceramics, but we also show photography, painting, and works on paper. So in terms of our curatorial stance, I'd say we're really open, and you can see a lot of interesting things at the gallery on any occasion that you choose to visit. We like to show two exhibitions at one time so that we can give an idea of contrast and similarities between two sometimes very different artists' work, and we like to mix up the media as well. Jessica Snow is a Bay Area artist that we've been showing for a number of years. She tends to use a very bright palette, as you can see here, to make these colorful geometric abstractions, which actually have a somewhat deeper meaning than just being merely color plays or sketches. She's really interested in the environment and in the kind of natural disasters that seem to be happening with ever more frequency. And a lot of these drawings derive from maps or aerial photographs of scenes of devastation like Hurricane Katrina. So there's this kind of bright coloring which is deceptive as to the deeper undertone of the message. And you can also see that she's very interested in architecture and structure. A lot of the drawings might give you the idea that they're sort of maps for fantastical cities or for incredible houses somewhere in some imaginary land. Joana Vasconcelos is a young Portuguese artist who's been very successful in Europe, but it's the first time that she's been shown in a solo exhibition in America, so we're really pleased to have her here at the gallery. We saw her in Madrid, and we'd also seen her previously to that in Venice, where she represented Portugal at the Venice Biennale in 2003. Her work, as you can see, is highly colorful and highly unusual. Her sculptures, her ceramics that we see here are covered in crochet. That is actually crochet that you're looking at, that has been hand manufactured, or made I should say, by a team of people that Joana has working for her. And the crochet covers are placed on top of ceramic animals. Now, there's a really interesting story to these animals. They were actually cast from molds made in the 19th century. And the molds were generated by a well-known Portuguese artist, Rafael Pinheiro Bordelas, who had a big ceramics factory outside of Lisbon, and who would make these extraordinary animals that were drawn from sketches made by the explorers who came to the Americas and to other far-flung lands in the 15th and 16th century. So there's a real history to these ceramics which Portuguese people would be more familiar with. So when they're looking at these objects, they may even recognize the individual ceramics because a lot of homes have them. One of the things that Joana is trying to do is to create surreal and bizarre artworks using what might not be conventionally thought of as art media. And for those people who then say, but it's just ceramic or it's just crochet, to make them ask themselves, why can't these media be art media? What is it that doesn't make sense for them about this being an art object? For her, they very much are art objects. They're explorations of contemporary sculpture in terms of form, in terms of media, and in terms of the dialogue she engages in, which is very much to do with mass production versus the kind of death of the handmade or the individual object. When we were putting together the show, we'd seen a couple of sketches by Jessica, and we were really familiar with the work that Joana was going to be making for us. And we could tell that they were both interested in form and color. So we were hoping that there'd be some kind of connection. And it's amazing, it's gone far further than we thought it would, because neither of them saw each other's work before the show. And yet, you do sometimes feel that some of Joana's work could almost be seen as sketches for some of Jessica's drawings could almost be seen as sketches for some of Joana's sculptures.
Good morning, I'm Paule Anglim. This is Gallery Paule Anglim, and we're delighted to welcome two exhibitions, one by Caitlin Mitchell Dayton, a complicated name, and Jerome Caha. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Mitchell Dayton. This is my show, The Future Is Now, at Paule Anglim. These are all paintings of my students at the San Francisco Art Institute, and they kind of come out of a combination of traditions, traditional art historical portraiture, especially that of Velázquez, and also more kind of pop culture sources like comic book pinups, Betty and Veronica, and children's book illustration, formats where you see one figure isolated on a big white ground with a pretty hard outline. So those are the kind of two formal tracks that inform them. And in terms of the content, the characters represent individuals who are themselves, but also they represent everyone they remind me of, every literary character, say from Victorian fiction, which I tend to read and reread. They remind me of my son as he will be someday, and of myself as I was 2 decades ago. They, for me, are very layered in terms of what they're about. Some of the layers are very, very simple and direct, and some of them are more complex. A lot of it is just sort of about the idea of potential. Like, they're not where they're going to go, but you see where they might go, and of course that has a lot to do with my whole, imaginative fantasy life of what could happen, but it's also based on concrete work that they're making at the time. But I can't help kind of, look into my imaginary crystal ball and go, this work could be really important someday, and I don't usually make a picture of someone anymore unless I feel that about them. That's kind of part of it, is what's happening now, but what could maybe happen someday.
Hi, I'm Julie Blankenship, the Executive Director of Visual Aid, and Visual Aid is a grassroots nonprofit arts organization located in San Francisco, and we work with artists with life-threatening illnesses by providing programs such as exhibition opportunities and free art supplies. And I'm here at the Jerome Chaya exhibition at Paule Anglim Gallery. I'd like to tell you a little bit about Jerome. He grew up in Cleveland in a very religious Catholic family, and he had 10 brothers. And his father set up a baseball team that was just him and his brothers. It was like the family baseball team. So people would see the team and they would say, I thought it was all boys, because he was the 11th boy and he looked like a girl. So that kind of gives you a sense of the family. It was very rough and tumble, living with 10 macho brothers, and he went to Catholic school. He actually was deeply religious and was very, very involved with the Catholic Church for many years. In high school, he had a job teaching retired nuns arts and crafts, and that really, really influenced his work. So he eventually went to the Cleveland Art Institute and did really well there, and that was kind of a time when he came into his own, and he made his way to the San Francisco Art Institute in the 80s. And he was really a collector. He spent a lot of time in thrift shops. He didn't have much money for art supplies or anything else, so he would always be, walking the streets, collecting little scraps of paper, bent up pieces of metal, strange little objects, furry toys, animal skeletons, things like that. And he used all of that in making his artwork. And images of his home, if you went to his home, you'd see like hundreds, maybe thousands of bottles of nail polish. He was really into glitter and all kinds of alternative materials like whiteout, as well as, oil paint and acrylic. And he would paint on all of these items. And his subject matter included fruit. Fruit was kind of his symbol for gayness, fruit, Jesus, all the saints, and domestic scenes, lots of animals, and also vegetables, and eggs and chickens and cocks figured largely in his paintings too. He was really concerned about hypocrisy, and one of the kind of recurring images in his work is eggs about to eat bacon and eggs for breakfast, eggs about to be cooked. You know, it's sort of like the transformation from life to death and resurrection. The way that Jerome presented himself, he would dress up all the time in different costumes, and it was a kind of drag, although you would never call him a drag queen. He wasn't emulating anyone, a woman or anyone else. He was totally unique. And his dressing up had a performative quality, and it was an extension of his painting. It was as if he stepped out of his painting, or you, as his friend or as his viewer or someone that just saw him on the street, could actually enter into his artwork. So he was very interested in kind of where the sacred and profane meet, where the rubber meets the road, how everyday life and art kind of intersect. His work was very lively, really exciting and joyful and funny, but there was a constant awareness of death that threaded its way through all of his work that you can see, and an awareness that life is suffering, which is really very spiritual and kind of permeates all religious beliefs. Jerome Chaya died in 1995, and he left parts of his estate to San Francisco Museum of Modern Art. The Smithsonian took on a huge collection of his work, and his estate has given the proceeds of the sales of his work to benefit visual aid. And we've recently created a new award to honor Jerome and to have his work be able to inspire and actually fund artists today, which is the Jerome Chaya Terrible Beauty Award, and that's going to be awarded to 2 visual aid artists each year for outstanding work.